32 Meridian and
Copy, Meridian. If there's still active shooting, we'll take the Bearcat, head that way. 39.
Upper Sioux, it's going to be Locust Grove and U-Stick, and they just put out a shot flyer, just so you know, on the route.
This is the 1032 podcast, where we interview experts in firearms and training with law enforcement, military, and competitive shooting backgrounds. All right, we got another 1032 podcast here, and I got a friend of mine who I see about once a year or every other year. About once a year, usually at Area 1. Yep. Pistol championships at a USPSA match. It's called Area 1 for those who don't know or don't shoot. USPSA, which is United States Practical Shooting Association, which is pistol competition, and Area 1 is basically the Northwestern Championships for the United States. And being that my friend here, Hwansik, Kim,
yep,
right? That's how you pronounce your name?
Yes, that was good.
I'm learning Korean a little bit.
Yeah.
Hwansik and I, we met way back, I don't know, how long has it been? Like 10 years?
2015. Yes.
2015?
So 10 years, yeah.
You have a better memory than I do, I know that. So we met back in about 2015 at a JJ Rikaza class. I hosted JJ back in 2015, and I can't remember what it was, because I know JJ had stayed at my house, but you stayed at my house too, but you weren't here at the same time.
No, that was another time.
Was that different? That was a different time.
Yeah. Because I came back maybe a month later than that,
yeah,
to Ben Stiller's class.
Okay, is that what it was?
Yeah.
So yeah, because JJ stayed at my house then, and then you were stayed at a hotel.
Yeah.
And then you came back later for Ben's.
Yeah, Ben's class. Same place, Nampa.
Okay, yeah, and you stayed at my place then,
yeah,
right? But yeah, that was back in 2015, and you were back when you were almost I wouldn't say a beginner shooter. You were still a good shooter. You were like probably high B class at the time.
Yeah.
And I know we had a couple shoot-offs back then, and I'm still not much higher than I was then. I'm A class, and you're a GM now, right?
Yes.
And I remember probably in about 2016, maybe 2017, we were at Area 1 that they were holding in Nampa, and Eric, what can I think of his name? Eric Steiner. Yeah, Eric Steiner came because he knew that you had stayed at my house that time, and he comes up to me. He's like, "Hey, man, have you seen your friend Hwansik?" I was like, "Yeah, why? What do you mean? What's going on?" He's like, "No, not just like seen him. Have you seen how he shoots now?" Yeah. I go, "No." He goes, "He's amazing." He goes, "He's gotten so good." He goes, "That guy's training all the time and shooting all the time." He goes, "He's like a GM now." I'm like, "No way. Really? In that short a time?" Yeah. I was like, "Man." So, but I've seen some other podcasts where you talk to people and people were wondering, "Hey, what's the secret? How did you get, to GM or Grandmaster so fast?" And I heard you say at one time you were training dry fire, live fire, watching videos, 8 hours a day.
Yeah.
So
8 hours a day schedule, but it's including lunchtime, driving to the range, things like that. So actual training time, if I have to guess, so let me just talk about that. So 8-hour program was always wake up in the morning, 1 hour length of dry fire first, and then eat breakfast and whatnot, and go to the gym, do about an hour and a half. So during an hour and a half, it's like two different sessions. So one is more of a plyometric body stuff, and then second part of the workout is more of a weight resistance training. So that's why it's hour and a half long. And then another lunchtime and whatnot, and then go to the range, generally about 2 hours, and then some study time because after that I'm smoked. So it's during recovery time I'm using it as a study time. I watch videos or come up with the drills or think about the better techniques, things like that. And then another hour of dry fire, and then the day is over. So if I have to guess, the actual training will be 5.5 hours.
Okay, that's still quite a bit. That's still a lot for most people.
Yes.
And you were going to, when you say you're studying also, but you were studying USPSA videos and other shooters, but you were also studying because you were going to college at the time too, right?
Yes. But that study time I'm referring to is specifically for shooting.
Yeah.
So I used to do about 30 minutes to about an hour of study specific for practical shooting. I wasn't just studying about USPSA shooters either. I was studying any good shooters. It could be tactical shooters, also a professional athletes, especially if it relates to practical shooting. Like running is for sure one thing I studied. So I studied sprinters, soccer players, football players, all the footwork technique, things like that. And general like focus level shooting, like for example, Olympic sport, so more specifically archery or Olympic shooting, because it's kind of way I was trying to kind of see their training methods and other things I can pick up.
Yeah. And that's because USPSA, United States Practical Shooting Association, matches are not just shooting. They're shooting, but there's movement, right? You got to run from point A to point B to point C. And so there's techniques on how to be explosive and move to your next position, and then the next one, how to speed up, slow down, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes. And also you have to put that into a strategy.
Yeah.
So it depends on the target difficulty. You might end up shooting on the move. Certain cases, even if you can shoot on the move, if the target is risky enough, you might choose to just run fast, stop fast, and shoot static and stable.
Yeah. So there will be a course of fire. They might be anywhere from 10 to, 15 targets or whatever.
Yeah.
Some might be cardboard targets. Some might be steel targets. And so you have to run to, it could be 3 shooting positions. It could be 6 or 7 shooting positions.
Yes.
And you have to run this course of fire. They tell you where to start. And then after that, it's up to you what order you shoot them in. So you have to not only shoot well, move well, but you also have to be able to strategize well by looking at the targets and decide what order you're going to shoot them in. And you can shoot them in whatever order you want, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes. And you need to do that fast because in USPSA, if you show up early, you're allowed to have a walking stage, right? Pre-programming or pre-strategizing before the match starts. There's a ton of time to do that. Mm-hmm. But in international matches, they don't allow you because there's so many people are there. That's one thing. They kind of, as a competitive equity or something, they keep the walking time 3 minutes only. So if you show up early, you can still watch from far away, but you're not allowed to enter the shooting area or the stage area.
Okay. Yeah. So if you get there, like on a day that's not your turn to shoot, you can watch other people shoot it.
Yes, but you need to be able to quickly simulate what you're going to do, and you got to memorize that as quickly as possible and execute. So there's a lot of mental aspect going on.
Okay. Yeah. And so tell us a little bit about your career. We talked about a little bit about how much you trained.
Yeah.
And were you doing that 5-6 days a week or 7 days a week?
My program at the time, one thing is I started competition training 26 years old. So I was pretty young, 26 years old. At the time, I was doing more of a 3+1 system. So 3 is a training time, 1 is a day off. And as I gotten older, I'm not that old, I'm 37, but as I entered 30 years old, I needed a little more time to recover. So I changed it back to 2+1 system. So 2 days training, 1 day off.
So, but those days are intense. They're not like really laid back, just kind of dry firing a little for 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there, right?
The resting day?
Yeah, no, your days that you're training where you're only doing 2 days and then resting.
Those 100% focus. And the hours kind of changed because I started teaching more and more. So hours usually varied from 2 hours to 4 hours of training. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that includes dry fire and shooting.
Yes.
Right.
Sometimes it could be 1 hour dry fire, 1 hour live fire. Sometimes it could be 2 hours of dry fire. Sometimes it could be just 2 hours of live fire session. And then if I have time, I would do 4 hours a session if I can. So that means 2 hours live fire and then 1 hour dry fire in the morning, 1 hour in the evening.
But how much ammo were you shooting at a time?
So when I first started, I have an ammo log. I keep on track on every single shot. Maybe not to the 1 round, but general round count was 15,000 rounds on the first year I started. So 26 years old. That was 2014 to 15. 12,000 rounds. Yeah, that was about 12,000 rounds. But I shot quite a bit of local matches to get experience. So it wasn't high round count in practice. It was actually fairly low round count. Mm-hmm. So if I remember correctly, I wasn't really doing live fire in the cold months. But when the sun comes up, things like that, in the warmer month, I was doing about 500 round session once a week to once in 2 weeks. Depends on my school schedule, things like that. Mm-hmm. And then it progressed into 20,000 rounds the next year, 25,000 the next year. And then after that, it jumped to 80,000 rounds. It took me only 2 years and a half to finish second at nationals. So that year I was getting really close. That year Max Michel won. But I was 99 point something percent, very close game. So that kind of got me into a bunch of sponsorships. And the year right before, so 2016, I won my first Area 1 match. So that also got me into some sponsorship. That's how I got picked up by Walther. So by 2017, I was shooting for Walther full time.
Okay.
And then I picked up by bullet sponsors. Back then, it was Gallant Bullet. And eventually got some sponsorship from PMC Ammunition, things like that. I don't have any more of a sponsor, so my round count is not the same for sure. And also, I'm busy teaching, so I don't have as much time to practice.
Now you teach more than you do compete,
Yes.
correct? And tell me a little bit about the classes that you teach. Like, who are you teaching?
So right now, about 70 to 80% is LE or military.
So law enforcement or
agencies,
military.
Yeah, law enforcement, military. And then 30% will be some competition shooters that are not, using firearm as for work. Yeah.
And you, at one point, you said you really enjoy teaching the law enforcement military, right?
Yes. The basic attitude is different. That's one thing. How they perceive firearm is usually like if I am not proficient with firearm, my life, I can lose my life. So people take it a little more seriously. Generally saying competition shooter, I'm not saying everybody, but a lot of people kind of want to know information more. Reason could be many things. Like somebody wants to just type it on the internet, brag about their information, but I don't really care about information they take. Like if a student comes and take my class and walk out of the class being able to do a bunch of stuff we are teaching. So like one of the class I teach is called vision focus class. So if the person is actually doing the proper 100% vision focus, that's my goal. When they walk out, if they can like explain it to somebody that vision focus is you have to do this and this and this, verbalizing that or telling information to somebody, I don't really care at all. I want you to be able to teach in a way they can experience vision focus and do experience or do the vision focus.
Okay.
Because if you don't do it, if you can't do it, the
So you want them to be able to apply it.
Exactly.
If they're going to teach it, they should be able to apply it first, right?
Yes,
on their own.
they need to be able to do it on demand.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting. You're here in Boise right now, and you're here to teach a class over the weekend, right?
Yes.
What does that consist of?
So this one, fortunately, fortunately is not the right word. I had some empty wick. So somebody reached me out doing a public class.
This week was an empty week for you, and so you're like, hey, I got to fill it with something.
I wasn't necessarily I got to fill it because it's already packed. I was looking forward to actually this week to be more restful because I've been on the road. I came back from international teaching and jumping into road trips to teach. But a person convinced me, so I was like, yeah, okay, I'll come out.
What if I called you?
Yeah,
you come out?
Come out, of course.
So how many over the last year? Approximately how many weeks have you taught? You think how many classes?
So
over the last year,
since 2 years ago, actually last year I should say. Since last year, my schedule's been fairly consistent, where it's 2 weeks out on a trip and 1 week home. Sometimes if I'm lucky, I'm home for maybe 2 weeks. Sometimes if I'm not lucky, maybe 4 days, something like that. So it's kind of similar consistency. I usually travel from February to November. I don't want to travel outside that unless it's a local because there's a bunch of holidays. I'm married, so I want to spend time with my wife. That's one of the reasons. 2022 is more of a consistent 2 weeks out or 1 week and then 2 weeks home. So 2022, I shot more matches. There was World Championship too. So I was busy, but I was trying to get prepared for that as much as possible when I'm home. But after that, World Championship is over. So I was filling more classes and more people hear about vision focus stuff. So taking more of it. So my background is kind of, the USPSA shooting, things like that. But if I go further, I was in South Korean Army. That was one of my first experiencing vision focus. Because generally saying, if most people going through threats or, let's say action, usually their vision focus is strong. They're pretty much forced into vision focused environment.
Yeah.
Some people describe, oh, when I was engaging a threat, I saw the brass coming out of my partner's gun in a slow motion, and I saw the details of it, something like that. There's some phenomenon. Or some people say, oh, when I was just looking at the target, sight was following. During the time, my sight almost slowed down. That's not really slowing down, like reality-wise. But when you do vision focus properly, your brain processes things so much faster. So it's kind of looking slow motion. It's not really slow motion, but your brain start processing super fast. So then I experienced it through the Army. That's one thing. So when I started training, I had a lot of the good background. I was never athletic kid. I sucked at all the PE classes. But going through that Army time, and also I was a Christian missionary, so I was very disciplined person. And that really helped me to kind of, when I started, first, and last one is engineering background, physics and engineering. So I was studying physics and engineering at the
That's
time.
why you're so detailed oriented. When you explain some shooting concepts to me, you're so detailed.
Yes, I am detailed but very organized. So I don't overload with like bunch of concepts. I just tell them one simple thing at a time. So when people take my class, they often say, hey, I liked your class because it's one at a time. You're not overloading anybody. We work on one specific thing. And when we move on to the next thing, it's just adding small layers at a time.
Yeah.
It's very easy to track.
Yeah, I think that's a mistake that I've noticed. And, I was in law enforcement for 30 years.
Yeah.
And some of our in-house instructors, especially when they're newer, sometimes they try to give too many corrections to newer shooters, right? And it's like they give them like 10 corrections, and then they're overloaded. The student is overloaded, with that information, and I think that they get really confused instead of just trying to correct one or two things.
Yeah. Yeah. In my class, I repeat a certain thing a lot because vision focus class is about vision, but the most important ability in any sport is the visual part of it. Vision, how to get the vision rolling, and how to have the faster response time, which is also related to vision, how you're using your vision. So during my class, I end up people hearing about vision focus harder. That is very important. And when they do it, their performance is just on another level.
Yeah.
They start to see every bullet starts to go based on the vision focus. And usually they get amazed. I start with assessment in the training, doubles drill, and a lot of people shoot doubles drill and then shoot like alphas and charlies or deltas or bullets all over the target. Sometimes some people are better than that for sure, but during vision focus class, pretty much everybody experienced where bullet goes to small tiny spot, even at as fast as you can pull a trigger, but bop, 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 like that, and bullet starts to fly into the same spot just by working on vision focus.
Being target focused on a specific spot on the target.
Target focus is not descriptive enough. Everybody understands target focus a little bit different manner. So I refer it to looking at a small molecule size spot.
A small molecule size spot on the target.
And then per second, every second, you have to try to look even smaller spot. It's like trying to focus into a smaller zone each second. Otherwise, you lose focus and bullet starts to fly around. And that's when I say, hey, focus harder. Look to a smaller spot, even smaller.
And that's why
bullet starts to shrink back in.
That's why you have shirts that you sell, right? On your website. Focus harder.
Exactly.
Right. So I don't want to cut you off too much, but I'd like to kind of start. We'll go back to what we were just talking about now, but first tell me, so you train competition shooters, right? And you train a lot of law enforcement and military. I know the reason why the competition shooters are using their gun and the reason why law enforcement and military are using their gun is different purpose. But the shooting itself, is it different or the same?
Shooting is shooting.
Yeah, running the gun and pulling the trigger, seeing the sights, is that the same or different?
Shooting is shooting again. So one thing a lot of people learn from my class is not only the vision focus part, is also the processing part. Some people are complicating by nature. So some people are scattered person where jumping from one another or complicating things. And through vision focus class, I usually correct their thinking also. And at the end of the day, they really learn how to prioritize the skills. Like no matter what kind of shooting you are, your vision focus is always the highest priority, and then so on, like trigger control, etc. They learn. But another thing is they think differently after my class. A lot of people learn, okay, if I do this, it's much simpler, and I can easily improve more in a short period of time. Like 1 hour, if you have 10% improvement, you go through my class, you're gonna walk out improving 50%. There's multiple things for sure, but it's one of them is to learn how to think simpler manner.
Okay.
So shooting is shooting.
So today, you gave me a little mini class today.
Yes.
In the backyard today, we were doing it dry fire on USPSA targets in the backyard. Can you kind of walk us through what that was? At first, you said there was 3 things that you have to do to be successful. Talk about that, and then talk us through what you taught today for me.
Yes. So basically, we didn't get to do one thing because it requires live fire. So the first 3 things is shooting fundamentals. So what shooting fundamentals means is the process of shooting one or a few rounds. So when we try to shoot, like for example, bill drill, you have to first visually acquire the target.
And real quick, a bill drill is drawing and firing 6 shots
Yes.
as fast as you can into the center A zone at 7 or 10 yards, right?
Yep. So first, we got to visually acquire the target. That's vision, right? Number 1 of shooting fundamentals, you need to make sure your vision works. And second one is you confirm the sight. Some people will confirm, sight alignment, or some people will kind of shoot off of an index. It depends on the distance. You will confirm likely different, right? For example, super close target versus very far target. You confirm something based on the accuracy, and then you pull the trigger and reset the trigger. So in this manner, I break it down into 3 parts. First one is vision, but more specifically, I call it vision focus. And then second one is confirmation. Third one is trigger control. So when I say trigger control, is pull and reset all combined. You repeat that 6 times, it's a bill drill, 6 shots on a target. But like I said, confirmation requires a actual live fire to verify the bullet holes. But we worked on 2 things, so vision focus part and the trigger control part. And vision focus again has also 3 parts in it. So let's talk about that vision focus a little bit. So first, when I say acquire the target, once you get your vision towards the target, some people will just shoot or see the whole brown shape of a target. For like example, USPSA target, they'll see the whole outline, entire blurred out target. Some people will try to see only the A zone shape. Some people, like I said, will try to see a molecule size spot. So of course, you want to be able to look at a very small spot. So when you end up presenting your sight, you're guiding it to a small spot. But the first one is specifically finding speed. So when I say vision focus, there's 3 components. Number 1, finding speed. Number 2, visual guidance. Number 3 is urgency. So let's talk a little more about the first one, finding speed.
Okay.
It has to be 100% human capacity, as fast as you can humanly, focus on a small spot. So that requires focal depth change, which actually in our eyes, there's eye muscles. You have to, properly use that to find the small molecule size spot. So we did some exercises to how do you know if I am focusing or changing the focus to a small spot, 100% capacity or not. So there is actual sensation when you do that. So when we were doing it at the backyard, the feel when you do it 100% human possible speed, you will feel almost like a muscle flex feel or burst feel. Like if you're doing bicep, slowly do it, then you don't feel nothing. You don't feel the burn or the flex. If you do it super fast, even if it's a slightly lightweight, the higher speed will get you feel that flex on your bicep. So if you really try to change the focal depth as fast as humanly possible speed, you'll feel the flex. So as you get
You're talking about feeling that flex in your eye from the strain from moving the eye from one target spot to another target spot,
Yes.
back and forth, right?
Yes, or it could be farther spot, closer spot, back and forth. So when we did that exercise, yes, you did feel the flex.
Yes.
So that's an indication that you're really trying to squeeze that muscle and focusing as hard as possible. So if you don't feel that level of focus, your training is not 100% done, 100% focus, I should say. So that's not effective training. And then number 2 is once you find that small spot, you gotta visually guide. Usually, shooting fundamentals, it's a sight, your red dot or front sight. But of course, in practical shooting, you have to reload. When you do reload, you gotta look at the magwell spots, small spot again, molecule size on the magwell. If you have malfunction when you rec the front serration, you should be looking at the front serration molecule size spot. Some people kind of say, hey, your eyes should go to the threat instead of looking at the front serration and fix the malfunction and back on the target. No, you need to have your eyes on the target. But the problem is this: those guys who says that, likely they don't have a speed for it. If you look at if you have 100% speed, like human possible speed, you can look at multiple spots per second. But some people are so slow in their vision, they cannot look at small spots or a focused spot. They can only look one spot per second, if you imagine that. So the key is not to fixate on a target. The key is accelerate your vision speed so you can see multiple spots per second. Then you can visually guide much better, precise, and perhaps fast.
So when you're saying move fast or the speed part, you're not necessarily talking about just hand speed or foot speed. You're talking about vision speed.
Yes, vision speed. Being able to focus and change focus to the other spots.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's visual guidance. Look at a molecule size spot and tell yourself, hey, I want the magazine on that spot for the reload, for example. If it's a actual shooting, hey, that's the spot. I want the dot exactly there now. Now the now part is the last one, urgency. So when I look at a spot and let's say, hey, I want to walk to the stop sign, and somebody says, hey, Kim, get there faster. Get there faster. And start yelling, putting pressure on me.
Yeah.
I'm going to do something to make it happen faster. Whether it be sprinting or choppy step, really super fast choppy step, the technique is not the essential part yet. Being able to put the pressure on yourself to make it urgent, that just brings out 100% mechanical possibility you have. Because everybody is different. Like somebody previously, if you do sprinting, they will sprint. But if somebody never sprinted, they will still do something to speed it up. So sight system wise too, once you find a small spot, hey, I want the dot exactly there now, faster. Get to my vision, follow my vision. So like recoil management 2, that should follow your vision to that spot faster and faster and faster. I'm not really saying trying to mechanically make it faster, but mentally you need to have the desire. You need to want the dot to come to that spot faster and precise. Just by doing that, everybody's behavior really changes because everybody does have mechanics built in. Like I said, everybody knows how to speed up. Technique might be not the same, of course, but they will bring out 100% capacity if you are able to put that urgency in you.
Yeah. Okay. So talk about some of the drills that we were doing today.
Yeah. So some of the drills, the vision related drills was first one is just we actually use a tiny triangle spot on a frame. But if you have a small patch, tape, or it could be any small object, or it could be a big object, but if you can pick a small molecule inside that color. So if you have a big patch, even if it's a big black patch, let's say, you can still try to pick a molecule size spot inside that black patch. So once you pick that visually, both eyes open, just bring the index finger to touch that spot. And then now look at the fingertip and back onto the far target. Fingertip, far target. So basically far, close, far, close. It doesn't really have to be a finger, but it's just convenient. So far object, close object. But what you really want to try is trying to be able to focus 100% capacity. So when you start to, it's really important if you have a friend around you and try to, hey, focus far, close, far, close, far, close, far, close, far, close, and speed it up, then they will try to really focus try to make the focus happen faster.
And explain what's the purpose of that? Why are we trying to look far and close? What are we doing?
First, this is pure purpose is for you to experience the flex feel or that 100% focus feel. Like I said, if you're doing
The
100%,
flex feel in your eye, right?
Yes,
From the
in your
muscles
eyes.
straining back and forth.
Yes, the focus change. Like I said, there is muscles in our eyes, so you gotta try to feel that, really flexing it. And once you do that, you want to do long enough point where you feel tight, you feel now slower or maybe woozy. Some people feel dizzy, or some people just feels it's not focusing like normal anymore. That's a sign of fatigue. So you want to do it to the point of fatigue. And when you feel that, try to focus even smaller spot, even faster. Just keep putting more effort to focus. Hey, focus even harder. Focus even harder. So pushing through that zone, eventually you're going to have endurance, focus endurance. So even longer engagement, your fatigue will not drop your performance. So that's two main objects. For number one is to be able to feel the flex. So very right first time you attempt to change the focus to your finger or far, you need to be able to feel that. So you're on demand, 100% focused. So you're training on demand vision focus to be 100%. Second one is to push through the fatigue and eventually have longer endurance. Your fatigue is happening much later, then you can do much longer focus.
Yeah.
Yeah. But another thing is, you learn how to push through the fatigue. That's another one. Everybody has fatigue, and some people start talking. Some people sway their head left and right. Some people start laughing when they feel the fatigue. So I tell people, hey, don't emotionalize, don't verbalize, don't motorize, just focus harder. Tell your body to focus even harder. Then you learn how to push through the fatigue, even though failure happens or something like that.
And what's the purpose of looking for the small molecule spot on a target? What's the purpose of looking at something so small?
Yes, just like we discussed earlier, some people look at the whole target or whole A zone. Then if you are looking at the whole section of a target, it can stop on the delta, alpha, bravo, Charlie zone. It goes all over the place, especially if you make a mistake. Now it's going to be missing the target.
Yeah.
So looking at a smaller spot, simply saying vision is guiding the body or the red dot or whatever site to a smaller zone. So it's more precise guidance. If you imagine, if you have a guided missile, if the guided missile is pinpointed, guided to a smaller spot, but bad missile, if they have a bad radar and they're guiding to like 100 yards zone, you don't know where it's going to fall in.
Yeah. Okay. Just trying to, that helps you land your sights or your red dot on the target more precisely, more centered, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So talk about the drill we did using the two targets today.
Yes. So after that, we did some variations of vision, and then we went into one-shot transition drill. So basically, at the buzzer, so you have two targets. Aim at one target. Usually, just start on the left.
Yeah.
At the buzzer, you do one shot, which means one trigger pull, one shot, and then transition to the next target. And this one, of course, you can try it in live fire too, but dry fire is fine too. So there is mainly two things. So the word explains a lot. One shot transition. So it tests that one shot. So if you're actually hitting it or not. Of course, usually if you have like a small colored tape, putting it on the target really helps. Of course, when you shoot one shot, the bullet should hit it. So if you don't hit it, the trigger pull could be bad, or you're looking at the whole target. So it's like shaking around the whole target can be happening. And once the shot breaks, as early as possible, basically, as soon as the trigger breaks, you need to exit and transition to the next target. And really, you observe how it arrives on the next target. So I showed you a couple bad ones. If you see the red dot kind of swirls around and stops to your vision spot, that is just simply you're not finding the next spot, molecule size spot, fast enough. Because during transition, when you engage one target and go to the next target, our eyes dilate automatic. They lose that small spot focus. And when you acquire the next target, you need to refocus to a small spot. But if you do it really slowly, if you imagine if you were looking at the whole target and vision is so slowly focusing into a smaller spot, the red dot or the sight will arrive in that big zone. And as you kind of shrink into a smaller spot in terms of focus, they will shrink in with the vision. So that's kind of swirling into a smaller spot. That's more of a vision focus issue. And sometimes if you kind of see straight path or straight passing through the target, so over transition is the word. So when you see the red dot straight passing through your vision spot and springs back in a more of a straight manner, likely you're tensed up and trying to push the gun with the whole body. In that case, you just need to tell, hey, I'm oversteering. Why am I oversteering? Am I tensed up and trying to shake the whole body to the next target? Or am I relaxed, but simply, hey, body is pushing it too hard, pushing the gun around too much? Then just tell yourself, hey, I'm steering too much, steer less. So it's kind of tuning process.
So you talked a little bit about tension, right? Talk about the tension. You went over making sure you don't have too much tension in the shoulders and.
Yes. So basically, tension is strong engagement of your muscle. That's one thing. Or you're shrugging too much, not natural position. So when, for example, if our muscles get hard, right? If you're squeezing your muscle, it tightens up. They become like a rock.
Yeah.
Rock is not going to move. So when we have a lot of muscle tension, our bodies stops moving properly. So for example, if we are drawing to the target, horizontal transition, vertical transition, even recoil management, the gun go up in recoil and you got to return to your vision spot, it all requires your arms to move, right? You can't draw if you don't move your arms. But if you have tension on your shoulder, arms are in the shoulder. If you have shoulder tension, the arm joint will be tight and they won't move. That's what we say about like locked up body. That's mainly the tension issue. So you need to learn how to move the arms and feel inside your shoulder, the joint rotating, the arm joint rotating. It should feel very, very smooth and light feel, almost effortless. Hand tension is the same way. If you tense up too much on the firing hand, the finger gets locked up because, again, it's the same concept. The finger is connected to your hand as that joint is in the socket. And you have hand tension, the finger starts to slow down, feels heavier, feels tight, and you're going to have a lot of issue training because your hands get too tired too quickly if you have hand tension. So there's two critical tension you have to make sure it's relaxed. Firing hand tension, so it should be a relaxed firing hand, and shoulder tension, so your arms can move very freely.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I mean, just like, yeah, I mean, every sports, any kind of sports, you know, every coach I've ever had for whatever sport, they always talk about, hey, don't be too tense, right? It's faster to be able to sprint if you're relaxed versus being tense. So it's the same thing when you're drawing your gun, moving from target to target, you got to make sure those shoulders are relaxed.
Yes. Basically, only muscles we want to engage is forearms. Because if you engage the forearms properly, the wrists are locked. There's only one part we want to stay locked, wrists.
Yeah.
Because we don't want that floppy.
Now, do you have a specific way of pulling the trigger? I know a lot of people in the past have talked about specific ways of pulling the trigger, you know, taking the slack out, going to the wall, that kind of stuff. What do you have a specific technique that you use?
Yes. First, trigger control, like I said, there's two parts, trigger pull and trigger reset. So my trigger reset position is basically completely off the trigger. So I'm not contacting. But this can change, depends on your finger angle and the trigger shape, because some triggers are really far forward. Prepping is never allowed. It's a bad thing about to happen. Accidents about to happen, especially under pressure, cold weather, tight hands, you have tight muscle, things like that. The feel always changes. Feel is never consistent. So I keep my finger on the completely relaxed position. So if you just rest your hand on the table, they're naturally curled.
Yes.
That's my shape before I pull the trigger. And when I reset, I come to the same spot. So key is, if the weather's really cold or your hands is, you know, dull or tight, they will not move as much, especially if you have hand tension. Like I said, you lose range of motion, or the mobility, I should say. So when you lose that, if you reset just enough all the time with the hand tension buildup or cold weather, you will not reset the trigger because you lose that mobility. But if you're coming off, let's say twice more than the actual reset, maybe 3 times, depends on the trigger, then if you lose mobility, you will still likely reset the trigger still.
So you're saying if you have cold weather gear, your hands are cold, or you have gloves on or something like that, you might not have the same dexterity on the trigger. And if you're always prepping the trigger, you may fire. You might accidentally fire.
And if you reset, as
what
minimum
if it's a shoot target? Like I know I'm going to shoot this target.
Yeah.
Like say for example, steel challenge.
Yeah.
Right. You go from plate to plate, one shot on a plate. Wouldn't you want to shoot the plate and then prep the trigger as you're moving?
Yes, that's the big problem. So master class, we didn't talk about master class, but during master class, one thing I teach is high accountable shooting situation, medium and low accountable situation. So basically that's kind of fancy term, high accountability shooting, it means you're shooting in an urban environment. If you miss that shot, it's going to go somewhere. Low accountable situation will be like desert, right?
Okay.
So it depends on the situation. You need to change confirmation levels, things like that. But one thing is, if you prep that trigger and pop one in between the transition, or it could be draw, right? Some people get the prep too early on the draw, and then they pop it before the full presentation. That also happens. It could be bad reload too. Like after reload, they pop it on the way. Very commonly happen. But in high accountable situation, urban situation, that's a lawsuit right there.
Yeah.
Possible.
Because you don't see that happen in steel challenge much. You don't see people shooting too soon. That I don't see that very often.
I do.
Yeah.
I've seen many footages. In USPSA too, a lot of the shooters get DQ'd because they kind of prep it too early and pop it to the ground. Things like that can happen during the draw, things like that.
So you would recommend more of just a contact point at the trigger?
Yeah. Like I said, completely relaxed finger. That means when you're relaxed, you're not prepping at all.
Yeah.
Because if you prep, you're not relaxed. You're putting pressure there.
That is true. That's a good point.
Yes.
Good point.
But pole-wise is also simple. Reset is just coming off the trigger and also completely relaxed position. But pole-wise, there's 2 things I focus on during dry fire training especially. Is number 1 is to be able to pull the trigger, moving trigger finger alone, nothing else. If somebody is kind of relating trigger control into a recoil management, they likely kind of cant your wrist as you're pulling trigger. Some people actually push the arms down. That's another way. So people kind of move sympathetically with the trigger finger, kind of relating with that programmed with the recoil management. They need to separate the whole concept. So when your brain says, hey, pull the trigger, your trigger finger should only the one responding and only the one moving, nothing else moving. So that's one focus. And second one is, when you pull the trigger, you gotta pull it straight. So you need to learn that specific trigger, because if you change the trigger shape, you might end up pulling it slightly diagonal or sideways. So that's more of a trigger specific. So you need to learn that because it depends on the finger length, trigger shape, it can change. But the last one is actually part of the first one. First one was trigger finger moving, nothing else moving. The last one is hand tension, right? Generally, it's correlated because if you have really tensed up hand, likely you're going to pull the trigger with all 5 fingers. It could be 3, it could be 4, whatever. So that's kind of related concept. Yeah, and that's it.
Oh, it's interesting. That's good. Yeah, because I know over the last several years, a lot of people are real big on, hey, you got to prep the trigger. You got to prep the trigger. I even had one instructor, nationally known instructor. I think I told you about before. He was all over me all the time because he's like, you got to be prepped all the time. Got to be prepped all the time. And he would watch my trigger finger, and I would fire multiple shots, and my finger sometimes would lose contact with the trigger, and he thought that was really bad.
Yeah, the key is that you can get the same result prepping or not prepping. But when you start to not prep, the key of learning that no prepping technique, so basically some people going straight through the trigger, right? That's the same description as some people may say slap the trigger. Well, even when you slap the trigger, you want to move trigger finger and nothing else in a straight manner. But the key to learn that is when people try to pull the trigger fast, people speed up the trigger finger and up the force. Like if you have 5-pound trigger pull, you want to learn how to pull the trigger 5-6 pounds, whatever. But oftentimes what happens is, oh, this is a faster shooting. So they tense up the whole hand and try to smack the trigger at 20 pounds force. That is a big concept a lot of people confuse about. Speed has to go up. Yeah, when you want to pull the trigger fast, you need to move your trigger finger fast. But a lot of people end up doing it stronger. So you need to be able to do, if it's 5-pound trigger pull, slowly push the trigger 5 pounds and speed it up to the point you're doing it as fast as possible, but still being 5 pounds energy. Or the tension also in the hand should be the same way. So one exercise we did is basically hand relaxed on the table and kind of tap the table at like 1 pound or 2 pounds and speed up that tap with the same range of motion. So reset is guaranteed, but still tapping at 2 pounds instead of when you do faster. Oftentimes people go to 2 pounds, 3 pounds, 4 pounds, 5 pounds as they speed up. No, you need to learn how to do it faster, but not stronger or not more tension.
Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. What about your sight picture confirmations? I know you were the one who kind of made that kind of popular in the shooting circles. Sight, 1, 2, and 3 sight picture confirmations. Can you expound on that just a little bit?
Yes. So when I started shooting red dot more specifically, because before I shot iron sights for a few years, and I was doing more conventional way in a sense. Okay, if the target is really, really close, I just shoot off of index. Meaning, it's not quite point shooting, but when I say index, the gun is on your eye line. So the short version, by the way, is where you look, the sight shows up. That's what we mean by index. But more specifically, when you see somewhere, you bring your sight into your right eye dominant line. Of course, any dominant eye, whatever. So you have to align your sight to your dominant eye. So when I was shooting more index shooting, really fast shooting, close target, I quickly realized, hey, if I do very fast shooting, confirmation 1, I call it, or predictive shooting, I'm basically breaking the shot at that moment of index, meaning the gun is pointed on the target, and the moment the gun sights arrive or hit my eye line, I'm breaking right away at that moment, even before I can recall what the sight was, if that makes sense. So that's shooting faster than you can visually respond. So that's called predictive shooting. If it's a 6 shots build drill, it's basically pulling the trigger as fast as possible. And the second one, confirmation 2, is reactive shooting. In a way, you're reacting to the colors, just streak of a color, touching it and break it right away. So that's something I learned shooting red dot, because as I was looking through other shooters' kind of split times and transition times, I quickly realized I am either shooting as fast as I can pull a trigger, which is about 20 splits, maybe 18 splits, that pace, or I was aiming the heck out of it and shooting 45, 50, or 55 splits.
So over confirming the sights, huh?
Yes. But when I was looking at other top shooters who's already been shooting red dot, like for example, Eric Raffel was all time shooting red dot, and I saw his split times. I had a stop sign or the measure timer, and then I was seeing him consistently shooting fast splits, like 17 splits, whatever, which I was doing already. And sometimes he was shooting very far, risky shots with 45, 55, those splits, which I was already doing because I'm coming from the iron sight background. But what I wasn't doing, he was shooting somewhere around 25 to 30 splits. So I was thinking, wait, why does he have a middle ground and I don't? So I just replicated what he was doing, forcing myself to shoot 25 to 30 splits. And I quickly realized, he's shooting as soon as the color of recoil. So when the recoil happens, the red dot jumps up and down really quick. And it looks like a streak jumping up and down.
Yeah.
And as soon as it touched back down, then I pull the trigger. As soon as I saw the streak up and down, and then I pull the trigger. I visually responded to see that streak up and down and then shot it. And it was going about 25 to 30 splits. And I, being a nerd, science, engineering, I quickly realized, 25 to 30 splits, that's simply there's a paper out there saying visual response time is typically about 0.2 seconds, or 0.22 for usual people, 0.18 for NFL athletes, so 0.2 seconds is the middle ground. Okay, 0.2 seconds visual response time. Cycle of a slide is generally about 0.05, 0.06, depends. So if you add that up, 0.25 and 0.3, if your response is a little bit slow, right? So I quickly realized, oh, he's reacting to that color jumping up and down in recoil and then shooting right away. So I call that reactive shooting, reacting to the jumping up and down, or color confirmation. And the confirmation 3 is one what I was already doing with the irons. It's called corrective shooting, where after the cycle is done, you check where the sight landed, and if the dot was just a little bit off from your vision, correct it. If it's an iron sight, it's a clear thing, right? You check your alignment, and then put the front sight on the vision spot and then shoot it. So it's a whole corrective shooting, because once in a while, by the way, you might have red dot go up and down in recoil and perfectly land on your molecule spot. Then you don't need the correction. Then you shoot it, of course. But how many times do we have perfect return? Sometimes you may have looser vision focus. You might lose focus just a split second. Sometimes you might have the shoulder crooked position, like leaning out position. The gun can be a little bit sideways, depends on the position. So there are times where the sight doesn't return perfectly. That's when you make the correction, then boom, right away.
Okay, that makes sense. So the confirmation 1 is when you have the least amount of dot, the least amount of confirmation.
Yes. So predictive shooting is different than reactive shooting. You're not really waiting to see something and then making an action. So like I said, if it's a 6-round bill drill, super close target, you end up working your trigger finger 6 times as fast as possible. Generally, like the number I showed you, 20 splits. If you are shooting Glock factory trigger, 0.22 is something I see usually, 0.2 to 0.22. If you're shooting 2011s, maybe 18, 17, 15 splits. Like I said, if you're shooting faster than 0.25 seconds, you're not reacting to the sight. A lot of people say, hey, Kim, I still see the dot going up and down when I shoot 14 splits. Well, you're seeing an after effect. You're seeing it happening rather than you saw it and then pulling the trigger is visual reaction. So predictive shooting is physical possible speed, if you can tell that. So split time wise, it's just moving the finger as fast as possible. Predictive shooting. For like a draw, for example, like I said, as soon as a optic window hits your eye line, you're timing the trigger to break it. If you saw the red on the target and then shoot it, it's 0.2 seconds pass after the window itself arrived to your eye line. So it's almost like timing shooting. It's not point shooting, but index shooting, predictive shooting. They're somewhat related.
Okay, and then number 3 is the more still or the less movement you're going to see in your red dot, correct?
Yes, to analyze if the sight returned on your vision spot or not, the sight should be steady. Yeah.
So if you're going to shoot like a headshot in the little A box, what do you want your dot to look like?
Circle.
Well, circle. You want it just kind of.
Yes.
You want it perfectly still in that box?
No, perfectly still doesn't really exist.
Okay.
Yeah, because you could have a little bit of tremor, or as you're pulling the trigger, and of course I don't want to happen, but it can move a little bit. Of course, it could be a little bit shooting on the move, or it could be you're on a vehicle. Even if you're staying still, wind blows, right? Then that is actually not really as steady, but you will clearly tell once the recoil is over, the dot settles into more of a circular shape. And once that happens, you only break the shot when the dot was on the molecule spot. If it's close by it, that's not actually on it, right? That's where when you shoot the head, it goes over the head. Of course, sometimes if it's really bad, like let's say one-handed shooting, then it can land much farther out from your vision spot. Then the correction takes longer time.
Okay. Well, that's a lot of stuff. I think that's a lot of good information, but guys would really benefit from attending your class.
Yes.
Actually
like
doing this hands-on.
A lot of people come to my class saying, oh, Kim, I watched your video and I worked on vision focus class or vision focus thing. And then once they take the class, they usually tell me, "Hey Kim, I had no idea. I had no idea this was 100% capacity."
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I'm sorry. I'm gonna miss it. You're staying here, and then I got to go out of town.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna be able to make it. So hopefully I'll be able to make another one in the future. So, what's your schedule look like? You got a pretty busy schedule already going into next year.
Yeah, next year I'm full till August.
Wow, you're ready till next August, huh?
Yeah.
Wow.
There depends on the location. So like I said, my basic rule is 2 weeks trip and 1 week home. During that 1 week, if it's close enough, I'm willing to fill that in too. But generally saying right now, February to April is completely booked. There is really no room. May, I'm going to be in Poland for a long time, but that dates are not settled. So there's going to be some time, maybe at least a week or two here and there still available. June, actually, I don't think something I was supposed to do is happening. It was supposed to be combo class, but I don't think it's going to happen.
So if people want to host you, you will come to their location and teach as long as they have a range and
Yes.
the facilities to do it, right?
Yeah. And I have hosting information set up. It's fairly simple. So
And what's your website?
hkimshooting.com.
hkimshooting.com.
Yeah.
All right. Go to hkimshooting.com if anybody out there wants to host a class with Hwansik. And then...
And there's calendar too if you want to
you
join.
do? Okay.
There are some public ones, but a lot of them are law enforcement classes. So if you are in the region and if you're law enforcement, you might be able to contact the host and get in. Otherwise, there's few public ones.
There's very few open classes that you have. Okay. Well, people have to look and see what's available then or call you and host you at their location, right?
Yep.
But you'll teach law enforcement, military, and competitive shooters.
Yes.
Right. All right. Thanks for coming on the show, and thanks for being here and running me through some training this morning.
Thank you for inviting.
I think I got a lot out of it. So we'll talk again, and hopefully we'll have you come back.
Yep.
Thanks.